All right, so get ready, everybody. We are diving deep, deep into Animal Farm by George Orwell. We've got excerpts from some key moments in the story. And let me tell you, this story is wild. It starts all hopeful, animals dreaming of being free and running their own society, but things go south pretty fast.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes some dark turns. And it's so clever how Orwell uses this simple story about animals to explore these really complex ideas about power, revolution, corruption, all that.
It's funny, I was thinking the same thing. Like he's holding up this mirror to human behavior, and it's not always a pretty reflection.
You got it. It can be downright disturbing.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. We're on Manor Farm, and the animals are living under the rule of this guy, Mr. Jones, who, let's just say he's not the nicest guy to animals. I mean, it's pretty obvious that things are about to boil over.
Absolutely. They're treated like, well, possessions, basically. They're overworked, underfed. They don't have any freedom, any say in their own lives. So it's really the perfect setup for a rebellion.
Right, and that's where Old Major comes in. This big, wise pig who has this crazy dream about, well, animals taking over. And he gives this huge speech and lays out the principles of animalism, which is like their idea of a perfect animal society.
Yeah, animalism is their ideology, their blueprint for a better world. It's all about animals ruling themselves and everyone sharing equally in the rewards, the fruits of their labor. And to make sure that happens, they come up with the Seven Commandments.
Ah, yes, the Seven Commandments. These are like the foundation of their new society. They're supposed to guarantee equality and, make sure everyone's taken care of. But I have a feeling things aren't going to go exactly according to plan.
Well, let's just say that those commandments are going to get, let's just say, reinterpreted a few times along the way. Power has a way of changing things.
Yeah, power corrupts. We've all heard that one before. But before we get to the corruption part, we're going to meet the major players. Snowball, Napoleon, Squealer. Each of these guys has a different vision for what this animal utopia should look like. It's like they're about to star in their own reality show, Animal Farm, Utopia Edition.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, you've got Snowball. He's like the dreamer, the big ideas guy, always talking about progress and building a better future. And then there's Napoleon. He's a lot more, how should I put this? He's more into power, controlling things, making sure everyone follows his orders.
Yeah, I'm getting some serious dictator vibes from Napoleon. And then there's Squealer. Talk about a smooth talker. He's like the PR guy, always spinning things to make the other animals believe what the pigs want them to believe.
You could say that. He's very persuasive, that's for sure. And he's going to play a major role in how the story unfolds. But hold on a second. Not everyone is buying into this whole revolution thing, are they? What about Molly and Benjamin? They're not exactly drinking the animalism Kool-Aid.
You're right. Molly, that pretty white mare, she's all about her ribbons and sugar cubes, freedom and equality.
Yeah, not so much. I guess some animals just prefer the comfort of the status quo, even if it means living under a tyrant like Mr. Jones.
And then you've got Benjamin, the donkey. He's the cynic, the one who's seen it all before. He's got this great line, something like, donkeys live a long time. None of you has ever seen a dead donkey. Basically, he's saying that things will probably stay pretty much the same no matter who's in charge.
He's like the voice of experience, the old guy on the porch saying, I told you so. But no one listens, right? So the rebellion happens and it's over pretty quick. No big bloody battle. And the animals are ecstatic. They're free. They destroy all the symbols of their oppression, those chains and whips, and they put up the Seven Commandments in big letters on the barn wall. Everyone's singing Beasts of England, and it really does feel like a new dawn is breaking. Yeah, there's a lot of optimism in the air, a real sense of hope for the future. They really believe that they've created a better world for themselves. But then there's that whole thing with the milk, remember? The missing milk.
Oh, yeah. What was up with that? One day the milk is there, the next day it's gone. It's like a magic trick, but not a very fun one.
Exactly. It's one of the first signs that maybe things aren't as equal as they seem. Where did the milk go? Who's benefiting from it? It's a small detail, but it plants a seed of doubt, like maybe some animals are becoming more equal than others.
It's like Orwell is giving us a little nudge, saying, hey, pay attention to the details. Things aren't always what they appear to be. And then comes the windmill, right? Snowball's big idea to bring progress and modernization to Animal Farm. He wants to make life easier for everyone, but Napoleon seems to have a different agenda.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the conflict between Snowball and Napoleon really comes to a head. You've got Snowball, the visionary, the idealist, who sees the windmill as a symbol of a brighter future. And then you've got Napoleon, who's more interested in power and control. He doesn't want the animals to be too independent, too self-sufficient.
Because if they are, then who needs Napoleon? Right. It's like
Yeah.
they're playing this high-stakes game of chess, and the other animals are just pawns.
Exactly. And Napoleon isn't afraid to play dirty. Remember those dogs he's been secretly training?
Uh-oh. This can't be good.
It's not. Napoleon unleashes those dogs on Snowball, chases them right off the farm, and just like that, he's in complete control.
Wow, so much for animal utopia, right? It looks like the dream is about to turn into a nightmare.
So yeah, Snowball's gone, and Napoleon is basically running the show now. And those Sunday meetings, remember, where everyone got together to talk about stuff and make decisions as a group. Yeah, those are gone. And the Seven Commandments, well, they get some interesting updates, let's put it that way.
It's kind of crazy how quickly things change, right? All of a sudden, Napoleon's calling all the shots, and everyone else is just supposed to follow along. And Squealer, good old Squealer, is right there by his side, explaining why everything Napoleon does is like the best thing ever, even when it totally doesn't make sense.
That's Squealer for you, the master of propaganda. I mean, think about it. Propaganda is basically just spreading information, whether it's true or not, to get people to think a certain way. And Squealer uses all the classic tricks like blaming Snowball for everything that goes wrong, making it seem like everyone loves Napoleon, even if they don't. And of course, there's always that little reminder about how dangerous the humans are. Keep them scared, keep them in line, right?
It's kind of scary how well it works. The other animals are so caught up in believing in this idea of Animal Farm, this perfect society they're trying to build, that they don't even see what's happening right in front of them. They're being brainwashed, plain and simple.
And it's not just the present that's being manipulated. The pigs start messing with the past, too. You know, rewriting history to make Napoleon look like the hero, the mastermind behind the rebellion. They basically erase Snowball from the story and paint him as the bad guy, which honestly happens all the time in real life, too.
Right.
Those in power, they want to control how people see the past. Because if you control the past, you can control the future.
Right, because it shapes how we understand the present, too. Like, who are we? Where did we come from? Where are we going? Wow, it's all connected. It's like that line from, what's that other Orwell book, 1984? Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Yeah, something like that.
That's the one. See, Will was onto something, wasn't he?
Totally. But let's get back to Animal Farm. Okay, remember that scene where Squealer explains why the pigs are taking all the milk and apples? It's for their brains, he says, because they have to think hard to run the farm. I mean, come on.
Yeah, classic Squealer. That's a perfect example of how the pigs twist things around to justify what they're doing. And it works, because the other animals, well, they don't have the education to see through it, the critical thinking skills. They just want to believe that everything is okay, that they're on the right track.
It's easier to believe the lie than to face the truth sometimes.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole thing about the pigs sleeping in beds, right? They actually changed the fourth commandment. Can you believe that? It used to say, no animal shall sleep in a bed. But they add this little bit at the end with sheets. I mean, talk about sneaky.
It's a classic power move. Change the rules to suit yourself. And it shows how easily principles can be eroded, you know?
Yeah.
Start with these big ideas, these noble goals, but then power creeps in, and pretty soon, the rules don't mean anything anymore.
It's a slippery slope.
Oh.
And while all this is going on inside the farm, there's trouble brewing outside too, right? With those neighboring farmers, Pilkington and Frederick, they're watching Animal Farm like hawks, just waiting for a chance to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, the tension is building. And it reflects a real problem that a lot of revolutions face, right? You overthrew the old regime, but then you got to deal with all these external threats, people who want to see you fail, who want to take back what you've won.
And Napoleon's not exactly helping things by playing these mind games with Pilkington and Frederick, making deals, breaking deals, trying to turn them against each other. It feels like he's setting everyone up for a huge disaster.
He's definitely playing a dangerous game. But that's Napoleon for you. He's all about consolidating power, no matter the cost. And what better way to do that than to create a climate of fear and paranoia? When everyone's scared, they look to the leader for protection.
And that brings us to the Battle of the Windmill, right? Frederick launches this brutal attack, totally destroys the windmill that the animals worked so hard to build. It's a devastating loss, not just physically, but like symbolically too.
Totally. The windmill was their symbol of progress, of a better future, and now it's gone, reduced to rubble. And you know what? The Battle of the Windmill shows how fragile revolutions can be, right? How easily all your hard work can be destroyed by outside forces. And it also highlights the contradictions at the heart of Animal Farm itself. The animals are fighting for their freedom, but at the same time, they're being exploited by their own leaders.
And in the middle of all this chaos and violence, there's Boxer, right? This incredible workhorse who just never gives up. He's so loyal, so dedicated, always putting the needs of the farm above his own, but he gets badly injured in the battle. I mean, you can't help but feel like something really bad is going to happen to him.
Oh, you know it's coming. Boxer, he's the classic tragic figure, right? The working class hero who's exploited by the system. He's strong, he's loyal, but he doesn't see the bigger picture, the manipulation that's going on. And his injury, well, it foreshadows his ultimate fate.
It's heartbreaking. He's literally working himself to death while the pigs are getting fatter and lazier. And even after the battle, the pigs are spinning the narrative, claiming it was a victory, even though the windmill is in ruins. It's like they're living in a different reality.
That's the thing about propaganda. It's all about controlling the narrative, creating the illusion of control, even when things are falling apart. And they get away with it because, well, who's going to challenge them?
The animals are too scared, too exhausted, too caught up in believing the lies. The situation on Animal Farm is about to get even darker. So, yeah, things are not looking good on Animal Farm. The windmill's gone, Boxer's hurt, and the pigs are, like, totally in control now. What happens to the animals who, actually speak up against Napoleon? Do they just get sent to their rooms without any supper?
No, it's a lot worse than that. Freedom of speech. Not so much on Animal Farm. Anyone who even hints at disagreeing with Napoleon, they're labeled a traitor, an enemy of the state, all that. We're talking forced confessions, public executions, the whole 9 yards. And remember the sixth commandment? No animal shall kill any other animal. Well, they tack on a little extra bit to that without cause. Which, kind of changes the meaning a bit, don't you think?
Yeah, just a tad. It's like they're saying, go ahead and kill each other. Just come up with a good excuse first. It's super creepy. And all the while, the pigs are living it up in the farmhouse, eating all the best food, sleeping in comfy beds. Meanwhile, the other animals are working their tails off just to survive. Talk about a double standard.
Exactly. It's a textbook example of how totalitarian regimes operate. The pigs started out talking about equality and all that, but now they're just as bad as the humans they overthrew. Power really does corrupt, doesn't it?
It's like that saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's not just the physical stuff, right? The pigs are controlling information, too. Rewriting history, spreading propaganda, making sure the other animals only hear what they want them to hear. It's like they've created this whole alternate reality on Animal Farm.
Oh, absolutely. They know that if they can control what people think, they can control everything. They control the narrative, they control the education system, they even control the news or whatever passes for news on Animal Farm.
It's like they've built this wall around the farm, keeping everyone inside and controlling what information gets in and out. But what about the animals who remember life before the rebellion? Don't they see how messed up things have gotten?
Some of them do, yeah. But they're either too scared to say anything or they've just given up hope. Remember Benjamin the donkey? He's pretty smart. He can read and he sees what's happening, but he doesn't really do anything about it. Maybe he thinks it's pointless, or maybe he's just tired of fighting.
It's sad. It's like they've all been beaten down so much that they don't even have the energy to resist anymore. And speaking of being beaten down, we gotta talk about Boxer. That poor guy, he works himself to death, literally, believing that he's doing it for the good of the farm. He's got this blind faith in Napoleon, even when it's clear that Napoleon doesn't care about him at all.
Boxer's story is so tragic. He's the ultimate symbol of the exploited working class, the guy who's always told to work harder, to sacrifice more, all for the promise of a better future that never comes. And the way the pigs get rid of him in the end.
Oh, don't even get me started. Sending him off to the hospital when really they're selling him to the glue factory. It's just awful.
Yeah, it's a brutal betrayal. And then they have the nerve to tell everyone that Boxer died peacefully in his sleep, praising Napoleon to his last breath.
Ugh, it makes me sick. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they kill, and all the while they're acting like they're the good guys. And the worst part is some of the animals still believe them.
It's the power of propaganda, man. It can make people believe anything. The pigs have created this environment where no one dares to question anything, where fear is the rule of law, and where truth is whatever they say it is.
So fast forward a few years, and Animal Farm seems to be doing well, at least from the outside. But all the profits are going to the pigs, who are now walking around on 2 legs, wearing clothes, and basically acting exactly like the humans they rebelled against. That last scene where the pigs are having dinner with the humans and the other animals can't even tell them apart, it's just chilling.
That's the whole point, right? The revolution has come full circle. The pigs have become the very thing they were fighting against. The Seven Commandments, they're all gone, except for one.
Mm.
All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
That one sentence just sums up the whole messed up situation, doesn't it? It's like a slap in the face to all those animals who fought and died for a better world.
Orwell really knew how to drive a point home. He doesn't give us any easy answers in Animal Farm. It's not a happy ending, that's for sure. But it's a powerful warning about the dangers of unchecked power, how easily ideals can be corrupted, and how important it is to stay vigilant and question authority.
It's a book that makes you think, that's for sure. And it's definitely relevant today, you know? We see these same patterns of power and corruption playing out all the time in different ways in different places. It's like Orwell was giving us a roadmap for how to spot tyranny, how to recognize when someone's trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
You got it. Animal Farm is a timeless classic for a reason. It speaks to something fundamental about human nature, our tendency to fall into these traps of power and greed.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We've talked about revolution, corruption, the abuse of power, the dangers of propaganda. It's heavy stuff, but it's important stuff. And I think the takeaway here is that we can't just sit back and assume that things will always be okay. We have to be active participants in shaping the world we want to live in. And that means speaking up against injustice, holding our leaders accountable, and never taking our freedoms for granted. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Animal Farm. It's been, well, it's been a trip, that's for sure. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep fighting the good fight.